Honestly, just the opening moments of this story already made me feel unsettled by how cold and self-centered people can become. To me, this isn't just a suggestion of an open marriage, it feels like a direct blow to the respect and trust built over 8 years of commitment. What I personally cannot accept is how casually she treats infidelity as if it were just a spice to refresh her relationship. That level of detachment toward her husband's feelings is something I find extremely hard to justify, and if you think betrayal only comes from strangers, Nate's unexpected reaction, choosing his wife's own twin sister as part of his response, will completely change how you see this situation. Let's see whether this becomes a game of revenge, or something far more complicated.
It was a Thursday evening, the kind that felt too quiet, too calm. I'd just gotten back from a long day at the office, still half in my tie, sleeves rolled up, watching steam rise off my plate. Across from me, my wife Jenna sat cross-legged, swaying her wine glass, eyes dancing with a glint that wasn't there earlier. "I've been thinking," she said, the way someone might announce a new haircut or a weekend getaway. I didn't even look up from my food. "Oh." She laughed, the sound light but rehearsed. "No, seriously. You know how we've been a little stagnant?" I frowned, fork halfway to my mouth. "Stagnant. Not bad." She clarified quickly, like that would soften the blow. "Just routine. Predictable. I mean, we've been married 8 years, Nate. We're not 20 anymore." That made me set my fork down. "Is that a bad thing?" "No," she said again. "Then, but I think we could use some freedom. Just to explore." I leaned back in my chair, jaw tight. "Explore what exactly?" Jenna reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine. Her touch had always done something to me, still did, but now it felt like a distraction, not affection. "Other people," she said. For a second, I couldn't breathe. I thought I'd misheard her. She just kept looking at me like she'd suggested a vacation to Mexico. Not like she'd just put a bullet between the eyes of our marriage. "You mean an open marriage?" She nodded, sipping her wine. "It's not that weird, Nate. A lot of couples do it. It brings new energy into the relationship. A little spice." I stared at her. Spice. Sex isn't a betrayal if there's honesty, rules. Think of it as a reset, not a rejection. The room blurred around me. Our wedding photo was still hanging over the fireplace. Her white dress, my clumsy tux, both of us too young to know how fragile love could be. That was 8 years ago. That was before her version of spice meant fucking someone else. "Who is he?" I asked. Her eyes narrowed. "What? This guy you want to screw? Who is he?" "I'm not screwing anyone, Nate. God, this isn't about someone. It's about freedom." "Bullshit." Her tone cooled. "I knew you'd react like this. Like a husband being told he's not enough? You're right. I must be so unreasonable." She stood up, taking her wine to the window, her back to me. "You never want to talk about this stuff. You act like sex is sacred or something, like it can't be shared." I rose slowly. "Because I thought we were sacred. You're being dramatic. And you're being a whore." She turned sharply, jaw tightening, eyes burning. I thought she might throw her glass. Instead, she just stared at me with a kind of disdain that I hadn't seen before, like she was already imagining life without me. "You can call me whatever you want," she said coldly. "But I'm not the only one who's fantasized. I know you've looked. I know you've thought about it." "Yeah," I said bitterly. But I didn't ask for a hall pass over fettuccine. She said nothing, just finished her wine, setting the glass down with the kind of finality that felt like the end of something. I forced a smile then. It hurt to do it, but I needed her to see nothing. No pain, no betrayal, no rage. "You know what?" I said, voice calm. "Let's do it." Jenna blinked. "Wait, what? You want an open marriage? Fine. Let's make it open. Fuck whoever you want." She studied me, probably trying to read between the lines. "You're serious?" "Dead serious." I walked past her toward the hallway. "But don't expect to control how far I take it." I heard her scoff behind me, maybe thinking I was bluffing. Maybe thinking I'd sit home crying while she got her kicks on some stranger's mattress. But in that moment, something in me broke, and something else took its place. I felt it, cold and sharp, slipping under my skin like a blade. She thought she was starting a game. She didn't realize I was already planning how to win. It's 2:17 a.m. The bedroom is dark, but I'm wide awake, staring at the ceiling like it's about to spell out the next 10 years of my life. Jenna's soft breathing hums beside me, steady, like nothing's changed. Like she didn't just hand me a live grenade at dinner, and tell me to hold on to it. I turned my head slightly. Even in sleep, she looked smug, peaceful, like the burden of guilt never quite touched her. Meanwhile, I'm unraveling one memory at a time, trying to pinpoint when exactly she stopped being mine. Maybe that's the real bitch of it. Not just the betrayal, but how seamless it felt for her. Like she'd rehearsed it in her head 1,000 times. Freedom, she said. Spice. Fucking ridiculous. At first, I thought I was furious. I mean, I was. Every cell in my body had pulsed with a heat I couldn't contain. But now, lying here in the dark, my anger had coagulated into something colder, heavier. Strategy. Not vengeance. Not yet. Just calculation. Focus. I realized I didn't want meaningless hookups. That would have given her the satisfaction. Jenna would look at me like I was just another man trying to soothe his bruised ego with some sloppy side piece. No. If she wanted to play power games, she needed to know I could play better. The question was where to strike. And then it hit me, clear as moonlight through the blinds. Her sister. No, her twin sister. Samantha. The one woman Jenna would never imagine me touching. The one person who'd always been hers. Her mirror, her secret keeper, her built-in best friend. Their relationship was ironclad, welded in childhood and polished by decades of shared memories. But I remembered something else too. The way Samantha used to look at me, years ago, when Jenna wasn't paying attention. Not lustful, not inappropriate, but curious, warm, lingering. There was always something soft behind her eyes when we talked. And now that I thought about it, a few of those hugs might have lasted half a second too long. Hell, maybe I was just imagining it, but that possibility, that seed, it was enough. I whispered her name into the darkness. Samantha, that would do it. That would wreck Jenna. If I slept with a stranger, she'd just toss it in the open marriage pile and keep bouncing on whatever dick she found next. But if I touched Sam, if I got inside her circle, her family, if I made the one woman she trusted most want me, that was war. I sat up slowly, swinging my legs off the bed, careful not to wake her. I needed a plan. This couldn't be rushed. Jenna had sprung this proposal on me like she was changing our weekend plans. I wasn't going to react like some wounded husband with a dating app addiction. I was going to turn this inside out. Because here's the truth. I loved Jenna. Still did, in some twisted, painful way. But that love had cracked, and now I could see what lay underneath. Pride, dignity, and something darker. A thirst for retribution that pulsed with every breath. She thought I'd sulk. That I'd slink into this freedom with my tail between my legs, awkwardly fumbling with girls half my age. That I'd break. No, I wasn't going to break. I was going to make her shatter. I stood in the kitchen a little after 3 a.m., swirling bourbon in a glass. The warmth didn't dull the edge. It just brought the picture into focus. Sam was single. Had been for about a year. Some asshole she'd lived with ran off with a yoga instructor. Jenna had told me all about it in passing, rolling her eyes as if Sam was always the one to get her heart broken. But what Jenna didn't know, or maybe didn't see, was that Sam had grown stronger since. She'd moved to a new place, got a better job, and according to her Instagram, which I scrolled through that night with far more attention than I had any right to, she was rediscovering her own life. She was glowing. In one post, she wore a sundress, smiling at some winery, holding a glass of rose. The caption read, "Rebuilding can be beautiful too." I stared at that post for a long time. This wasn't just about sex. I mean, I wanted her. Let's not lie about that. Sam was gorgeous, the same way Jenna was, same sharp cheekbones, same legs that went on forever, but she carried something else. Something warmer, less sharp, more inviting. But it wasn't just that I wanted her. I wanted Jenna to watch me want her. That was the point. That was the dagger. I imagined Jenna's face, cool, confident, smug, shifting into horror as realization bloomed. That her twin, her closest person on earth, had been touched, tasted, and taken by her own husband. Would Sam go for it? That was the gamble. She had a strong moral compass. She wouldn't cross that line easily. But pain has a way of blurring the rules. If I could get close enough, vulnerable enough, she might open the door just a little. And once she did, I'd make damn sure she never closed it again. I took one last sip of bourbon and set the glass down. No more second guessing. She wanted freedom? I'd give her devastation. The opportunity came 2 weeks later, wrapped in laughter and wine and the casual buzz of family obligation. Jenna's mom had turned 60, and the whole family gathered at her suburban home for what was supposed to be a low-key birthday dinner. We were all there, siblings, cousins, wine flowing, music soft in the background. Jenna stood across the room telling some story about her latest adventure with a smirk that made my stomach twist. Everyone laughed. I wasn't listening to her. I was watching Samantha. She stood in the kitchen doorway, sipping a glass of red, dressed in dark jeans and a deep green top that hugged her curves in a way I hadn't let myself notice before. Her hair was down, loose waves brushing her shoulders, and she had this way of tucking it behind her ear that felt almost hypnotic. She caught me looking. For half a second, our eyes locked. She didn't smile, didn't look away, just held my gaze with this unreadable expression, part curious, part cautious. I made my move an hour later when I saw her step out to the patio alone. I grabbed a drink I didn't want and followed her outside. The cool air bit a little at the edges, but the wine in my veins and the plan in my head kept me warm. "Hey," I said, casually leaning against the railing beside her. She looked over, surprised but not unwelcoming. "Hey Nate, you surviving in there?" "Barely." I offered her a half smile. Family dinners always bring out the best in people, right? She laughed softly, and something in my chest loosened. That sound, it wasn't like Jenna's. Less sharp, more honest. "I needed a breather," she said, nodding toward the door. "Jenna's been a little intense lately." That was the opening. "Yeah," I said, voice lower. "She's going through some kind of transformation, I guess." Samantha raised an eyebrow. "Midlife crisis already?" She always was an overachiever. That made me laugh, and it felt real. We stood in silence for a moment. Not awkward, just still. Then I said it. "She asked for an open marriage." Samantha blinked. "What?" I turned to face her, watching her reaction closely. "Couple weeks ago, over dinner. Said she wanted freedom. Thought it would spice things up." Her face twisted in confusion. "Wow, that's not what I expected." "Me neither." I looked down at my drink, then back at her. It kind of wrecked me. She was quiet, processing. "I'm sorry," she said finally, and I believed her. "Thanks," I said. "I haven't told anyone. Not even my friends. But I don't know. I saw you out here, and I just—" "It's okay," she interrupted. "You can talk to me." I nodded, letting silence settle again before adding. "It's just weird, you know? Feeling like you're not enough anymore." Her face softened. She stepped a little closer. "You are enough, Nate. Jenna's always been restless. That's not about you." That landed harder than I expected. I looked at her and felt something stir, an ache that wasn't quite pain and wasn't quite desire either. It was need. It was connection. "Thanks," I murmured. She placed her hand lightly on my arm, just for a second. Just enough. And there it was, the first spark. The second time I saw her was 3 days later. Jenna had flown out to Scottsdale for some retreat with her yoga friends, though I doubted the only stretching involved was on mats. I'd texted Samantha under the pretense of needing to borrow a charger I'd left at her place last month. A weak excuse, but it got me through the door. When she opened it, barefoot in black leggings and an oversized sweatshirt, I almost forgot why I was there. "You really came all the way here for a charger?" she said, raising an eyebrow but stepping aside to let me in. I shrugged, playing casual. "Needed a reason to see you, I guess." She didn't respond to that, just motioned toward the kitchen. "You want coffee?" I followed her, watching the way her hips moved, the curve of her back as she leaned into the counter. And for a split second, I imagined pressing up behind her, my hands on her waist, my lips at her neck. She turned and caught me looking again. "Do you miss her?" she asked quietly. The question hit harder than I expected. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I miss who she used to be, before all this." Samantha set 2 mugs on the table, sat across from me. "I always thought you two had it figured out." "Yeah, me too." She looked down, like she was trying to choose her next words carefully. "For what it's worth, I never understood how she could take you for granted." I blinked. "What do you mean?" "You've always treated her like gold," she said, eyes meeting mine. "You listen. You show up. You care. And she just chases the next thrill." I felt heat rise in my chest, not anger. Something else. Something that twisted low in my gut when I saw how earnestly she was looking at me. I reached across the table, my fingers brushing hers. She didn't pull away. "Samantha," I said, barely above a whisper. "I shouldn't say this, but I've been thinking about you. A lot." Her breath hitched. "Nate, I don't think that's a good idea." I know. It's dangerous. I know. And still, neither of us moved. The moment hung there, thick, fragile, heavy with unspoken things. Then her phone buzzed on the table. The spell broke. She glanced at the screen and sighed. I should go, I said, rising. Didn't mean to drop all that on you. She stood too, walking me to the door. Before I stepped outside, she touched my arm again. I meant what I said. You're a good man. I looked down at her fingers on my skin, then back at her. Maybe that's the problem, I murmured. Good men don't do what I'm thinking of doing. She didn't reply, just looked at me like she wasn't sure whether to push me away or pull me in. It started small. A lingering hug at the end of a conversation. A text sent late enough to be noticed, but not late enough to raise alarms. Innocent things, if taken alone. But nothing about them felt innocent. Not to me, and not to her. Samantha was cautious. I could see it in the way she always kept just enough distance between us, like she was afraid to admit what we both knew was growing. But I didn't push, not yet. I let the silence between our words do the talking. I let her wonder. I let the idea of me, of us, marinate slowly in her head. She wasn't Jenna. That much became clearer with every interaction. Where Jenna filled a room with sharp confidence and sarcastic remarks, Samantha observed. She listened. She made you feel like you were the only person in the world when she looked at you. And when she smiled, it wasn't performative. It felt earned. That was the part that got to me. Because when Samantha smiled at me, I felt like I was worth something again. Jenna didn't know. She didn't suspect. Her attention was consumed by whoever the hell she was entertaining with her newfound freedom. She didn't even notice that I'd stopped asking her questions, stopped caring where she went or when she came back. She thought I was still licking my wounds. Let her. One Saturday afternoon, Samantha and I met up at a local farmer's market. Another casual outing. She said she needed help picking out herbs for her new patio planter. I offered to come along, said I could use the fresh air. We strolled through booths of honey jars and sunflowers, walking side by side, occasionally brushing arms. Every little accidental touch now hummed with electricity. She stopped at a stand with fresh basil and lavender, bending over slightly to smell a bundle. Her neckline dipped low. I looked, just for a second, but it was enough to feel heat flush through my chest. Do you cook? She asked, holding up a bundle of thyme. Only when I want to impress someone. She laughed. Anyone in particular lately? I met her eyes. Maybe. She looked away, biting her lip. That lip bite. Goddamn. We ended up back at her place, the herbs forgotten, a bottle of wine opened before either of us really acknowledged why we were still hanging out. Don't read into this, she said as she poured my glass. I just didn't want to drink alone. I'm not reading into anything, I said, smiling as I accepted the glass. We sat on the patio. The sun had started its descent, casting everything in amber light. She curled her legs up beneath her, her bare foot brushing my calf. I didn't move. You ever think about going back? She asked suddenly. To Jenna? She nodded. I took a sip. I used to. I don't anymore. She looked at me for a long moment. I always thought you two would make it. Honestly, I used to be a little jealous. Jealous of her? I scoffed. Why? She hesitated. Because she had someone who gave a damn. Someone who built a life with her. I watched her for a beat. Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't know what she had. The silence between us thickened again, this time charged. Her gaze lingered on my lips. She noticed it, too, and quickly looked away. You're doing it, she said softly. Doing what? Flirting with me. I didn't deny it. And you're letting me. That hung there between us. Raw. Unapologetic. Samantha set her glass down. Nate, I can't be your rebound. I won't be that person. I'm not looking for a rebound, I said. I'm looking at the one person who's made me feel something real in months. You're Jenna's husband. Not anymore. Not really. She stood abruptly. This is dangerous. I stood too, closing the space between us slowly. Then why haven't you walked away? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her breath hitched. She was close enough now that I could smell the wine on her lips, the faint vanilla of her skin. My hand hovered near her waist, not touching. Not yet. I think about you, I said quietly. More than I should. Her eyes fluttered closed for a second. When they opened, they were darker, warmer. I think about you too, she whispered. My fingers brushed the side of her hip. But this can't happen, she added, even as she leaned the slightest bit closer. It hasn't, I said. Yet. I let my hand fall away. Stepped back. The restraint cost me more than I thought it would. Her breath was shallow, her cheeks flushed. I should go, I said. She nodded, but didn't stop me. I paused at the door. I meant what I said. I told her, "You're not a rebound. You're the one person Jenna never expected me to see this way." And now I can't stop. The next few days were torture in the sweetest way. Texts turned longer. Conversations turned deeper. I sent her a song late one night, one that reminded me of her, and she sent back a heart emoji. That was it. No words, but it said more than I needed. I started showing up when I knew she'd be around, dropping off coffee by accident, offering help when she mentioned her car acting up. She stopped pretending not to like it. One night, we sat in her living room watching an old black and white movie. She fell asleep, head against my shoulder. I didn't move for an hour. I just listened to her breathe and wondered how much further I could let this go before we crossed the line for real. Then again, maybe we already had. It happened the night Jenna came home drunk, stinking of whiskey and cheap perfume that wasn't hers. I was already in bed, pretending to sleep when I heard the door slam downstairs. Her heels clicked unevenly on the hardwood as she stumbled toward the stairs. I didn't move. I listened. Each footstep sounded like another hammer on the coffin of our marriage. She came into the bedroom like she owned it, like nothing she'd done, nothing she'd said, had changed the world we'd once shared. Her dress was twisted at the waist, hair a mess, lipstick faded to a pale, angry stain. She stood in the doorway, swaying slightly. "You're up," she slurred. I opened my eyes and stared at her, saying nothing. "Don't give me that look," she huffed, kicking off her shoes. "It's not like you care. You reek," I said. She laughed, bitter and sharp. "So do you, Nate." Of desperation. That cut deeper than I expected. I sat up. "Where the hell have you been?" She collapsed onto the chair near the window. "Out. Living. Isn't that what we agreed to?" "Agreed? I don't remember us agreeing to you parading around like a college sophomore with no self-respect." She tilted her head. "Jealous?" "No," I said coldly. "Disgusted." Her smile curled. "Funny. That's how I used to feel after sex with you." I felt something snap. I stood slowly, feet planted firm on the hardwood, staring her down. "Say that again." She rolled her eyes. "Don't be so fragile." I took a breath, steadying myself. "You wanted an open marriage, Jenna. You got it. But don't act like you're winning some game. You're not. You're just losing slower." That got her attention. She sat up straighter. "Excuse me." "You heard me." Her eyes narrowed. "What the hell does that mean?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I turned and walked into the bathroom, locked the door behind me, and stared at myself in the mirror. Something had changed. The guilt that had lingered after every conversation with Samantha, every touch, every almost moment, it was gone. Jenna had killed it with that last jab. She didn't love me. She didn't respect me. I wasn't her partner anymore. I was just the guy who kept the lights on while she played fantasy with strangers. So when I left the next night and drove to Samantha's apartment, I wasn't unsure. I wasn't tentative. I was done pretending. She answered the door in leggings and a long sweater, hair tied back, no makeup. Still, she looked beautiful. More than beautiful. Safe. Real. "Nate," she said, surprised. "I thought you had plans tonight." "I did," I said. "But I needed to see you." She stepped aside without asking questions. I stepped in. We didn't talk right away. She poured tea. I declined. The silence wrapped around us again, thick with everything we hadn't said. "What happened?" she asked finally. "I can't do it anymore," I said. "The marriage. The games. The pretending." She looked at me, uncertain. "And what are you doing here?" I stepped closer, slowly, deliberately, crossing a line. She didn't back away. "Sam," I said, my voice low, "I know this is wrong. I know it's messy, and it's complicated, and it could destroy everything. But I need you to know something." She swallowed. "What?" "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here because I can't not be." Her lips parted, but no words came out. I reached up, brushing her cheek with my knuckles. "You make me feel like I matter. Like I'm not broken." She blinked fast. "Nate, I'm not asking for forever," I whispered. "I just need this moment. Just one. Tell me to leave, and I'll go. But if you don't..." She stepped forward, closing the last inch between us, and kissed me. God, it wasn't like anything I'd imagined. It wasn't soft or tentative. It was fierce, hungry, real. Her hands tangled in my shirt. Mine slid around her waist, pulling her flush against me. The dam had burst. Years of suppressed tension, months of confusion, of near confessions and almost touches. It all poured into that kiss. We staggered back toward the couch, mouths locked, breathing heavy. When I pushed her gently down onto the cushions, she didn't resist. Her sweater slid up just enough to expose her hips, and I ran my fingers along her waist, skin warm and smooth beneath my palms. She pulled back just long enough to look me in the eyes. "We can't go back after this," she said. "I don't want to." Her lips found mine again. Clothes came off in layers, slow, then fast, then desperate. Her body was soft, warm, familiar, and new all at once. I touched her like I'd been imagining for weeks, months, maybe even years. She let out a gasp when I kissed the inside of her thigh, fingers curling in my hair as I tasted her. When we finally came together, it wasn't frantic. It was deep. It was slow. It was everything I hadn't felt with Jenna in years. After, we lay tangled on the couch, her head on my chest, the quiet humming around us. "I shouldn't have let this happen," she whispered. "But you did." She didn't reply, just sighed against my skin. And I knew, as sure as I knew my own name, that neither of us would stop now. Not anymore. I never intended for it to go beyond that night. I told myself it would be one moment of weakness, an exhale after years of holding my breath. I'd been drowning in betrayal, and Samantha had become the air I didn't know I needed. But once you taste something real, something right, it's hard to go back to surviving on scraps. That first night changed everything. We didn't speak much afterward. No promises, no labels. Just long, quiet breaths and an ache that settled deep into our bones. I dressed slowly, kissed her once more at the door, slow, like I was memorizing the shape of her mouth, and told her I'd call. And then I drove home, heart hammering, guilt clashing with something warmer, something close to satisfaction. Not because of revenge, because for the first time in months, I felt alive. Jenna was still awake when I got back. She didn't even look up from her laptop as I stepped inside. Her tone was flat. "Where were you?" I didn't miss a beat. Out. Out. Yeah. Isn't that what this is? Freedom? Or do only you get to use it? That shut her up. She stared at me for a second too long, then returned to whatever bullshit she was pretending to read. I went upstairs without another word. And just like that, our house became a hotel. Two strangers occupying the same space, pretending it wasn't falling apart. Samantha and I didn't fall into some daily affair. We weren't reckless. It started with long drives. We'd meet in quiet neighborhoods where no one knew our names, sometimes in my car, sometimes hers. Just talking, touching, kissing like we'd never get another chance. The tension always coiled tight between us, snapping the second we were alone. Some nights, she'd cry afterward, not out of regret, but confusion. "I hate that I don't hate you for this," she whispered once as we lay in the back seat of my truck, windows fogged, her shirt half-buttoned. "You don't have to hate me," I said softly. "I should," she whispered. But her fingers never stopped tracing circles on my chest. It wasn't just sex. That's what caught me off guard. I expected lust, maybe even affection, but not this. Not the deep conversations at midnight. Not the way she remembered little things I'd forgotten about myself. Not the way she'd look at me after we'd made love, as if I were the only man who had ever made her feel something that mattered. We talked about books, music, childhood. She told me things Jenna never had the patience to hear. I listened in return, genuinely wanted to. And somewhere in the middle of the stolen moments and whispered confessions, it stopped feeling like revenge. It started feeling like home. But secrets have weight. Every kiss carried it. Every moan behind locked doors. Every text deleted before it could be seen. The thrill was always tainted with a thread of dread. We were building something fragile on a foundation made of lies. The guilt wasn't from Jenna anymore. That ship had sailed. It was from what I was asking Samantha to carry, what I was letting her risk. And yet, she never pulled away. We got good at the dance. We'd run into each other at family events. Always at a safe distance, always careful. But the way her eyes would linger across the room, the way our fingers would graze as we passed in the hallway, it was like Morse code in skin and breath. The secrecy made everything hotter, riskier, more dangerous, and completely addictive. Once, during a brunch at Jenna's parents' place, Samantha brushed past me in the kitchen and slipped a note into my hand while everyone else was on the patio. "Stay late. I'll pretend I forgot something in the car." My pulse went wild. I spent the next hour pretending to care about Jenna's dad's retirement plans, while every part of me screamed for that one moment alone with her. When it finally came, we found ourselves in the garage, bodies pressed between the back seat of her car and a wall of old storage bins. It was fast, messy, intense. Hands everywhere, lips crashing, her legs wrapped around my waist, both of us biting back gasps we couldn't afford to release. Her teeth grazed my shoulder, and I felt like I could explode from the tension alone. Afterward, I pressed my forehead to hers, still inside her, both of us breathless. "This is going to destroy everything," she murmured. "I know." She kissed me again, and neither of us stopped. We made rules. No texts during family dinners. No sudden gifts. No showing up without warning. But love doesn't play by rules. And make no mistake, whatever this was, whatever it started as, it had become love. I saw it in the way she looked at me when she thought I wasn't watching. I felt it in the way she held me after sex, like she didn't want to let go of the one piece of her life that still felt like hers. I told myself I was in control. But the truth? I was already falling. Jenna remained blissfully unaware, or so I thought. She was busy flaunting her own freedom, talking loudly about club nights with her new friends, casually letting it slip that she'd crashed at a guy's place after too many drinks. Always watching my face for a reaction. I didn't give her one. Not because it didn't hurt, because it did, but because my mind was elsewhere. My body might have still belonged to her on paper, but everything else was drifting toward Samantha. She noticed my calm. Misread it. She thought I'd accepted our arrangement, that I'd surrendered to her terms. But I was already rewriting the rules. And soon, she'd find out just how far I'd taken them. There was a moment, maybe a small one, but I remember it vividly. I was sitting on the patio with Jenna one morning, sipping coffee in silence. The sky was gray, the lawn uncut, and her hair was still tangled from sleep. She was scrolling on her phone like I wasn't there, smirking at something, probably another late-night friend texting back. And I remember thinking, I don't feel anything. Not anger, not sadness, not jealousy, just indifference. It hit me harder than I expected, because once upon a time, I would have done anything to keep this marriage afloat. I'd been loyal, patient, stupid maybe, but now, my loyalty had shifted, and it wasn't out of spite. It was because I'd found something worth protecting, even if I had to protect it in secret. Samantha was different with me now. Before, there had been hesitation, guilt, caution in every glance, like she was waiting for a wall to fall. But that changed slowly, subtly, like the first warmth of spring after a brutal winter. She'd smile without apology, touch me without flinching. Her place became a refuge, not just a stopover for stolen moments, but a world of our own. She made space for me, not just physically, but emotionally. It was in the way she stocked my favorite coffee, or how she always had a spare toothbrush in her bathroom drawer with a little label. And one night, as we lay tangled beneath her sheets, the room dim except for the orange glow of a bedside lamp, she turned to me and said, "I don't think I'm surviving without you anymore." I should have been terrified. Instead, I kissed her, deeper than usual, and whispered, "Then don't." That was the night I realized I didn't love Jenna anymore, not even a little. I was in love with her sister, and no amount of guilt could stop what was coming next. Jenna still paraded her freedom around the house, sometimes just to spite me. One Friday night, she came home in a skin-tight dress, makeup smeared, giggling as she threw her heels in the hallway. She leaned on the wall, cocked her head at me. "You ever going to use your hall pass, Nate? Or are you too boring even for that?" I smiled to myself. Maybe I already have. She blinked. "You? Why not?" She scoffed. "Please. If you'd had a woman in your bed, you'd be smug as hell about it." I leaned in close. "Maybe she's in your bed." She froze for a beat, eyes narrowing. I walked away before she could ask more. She didn't know, but she felt it. That unease. That crack in her confidence. And I savored it. Samantha and I got better at hiding, but the emotion got harder to conceal. At a family barbecue, we nearly got caught. It was one of those muggy, beer-fueled afternoons. People were spread out on lawn chairs and benches. Jenna was off laughing with her brother. I was manning the grill, flipping burgers like a good little husband. Samantha brought me a beer, brushed my hand longer than she needed to when she passed it. Our eyes locked, just for a second, but it was enough. That single look was so full of hunger, familiarity, love. And when I glanced up, I saw Jenna watching from across the yard. She squinted, head tilting slightly, like something didn't add up. I played it cool, gave her a nod, flipped another burger. But the hairs on my neck were standing. Later that evening, Samantha and I crossed paths in the hallway by the guest bathroom. No one was around. "You okay?" I asked. Her lips were a little parted, eyes darting toward the open door behind me. "She's watching. She suspects. She doesn't know, but..." I nodded, stepping just close enough that our hands brushed as we passed. She whispered, "I don't want to stop." I whispered back, "Neither do I." And just like that, we kept walking, away from each other, back into the lie. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling again, just like I had months ago when this all began. But now I wasn't reeling from Jenna's betrayal. I wasn't mourning the life I'd lost. I was thinking about the one I wanted to build. And I knew I had to choose. Not just between two women. Between two versions of myself. The man I had been, faithful, quiet, painfully patient. And the man I was becoming, bold, unafraid, free. Samantha didn't just make me feel loved. She made me feel seen. She made me want to become something better, not because she asked, but because she believed I could. That's what loyalty really is. Not obligation, not fear, but choice. And I chose her. Jenna started noticing more. The texts I didn't answer. The nights I came home late. The shift in energy when Samantha was around. She tested me with snide remarks, with accusations hidden as jokes. But I never flinched. Because the truth was, I didn't know her anything anymore. She was the one who opened this door. All I'd done was walk through it better than she ever imagined I would. Samantha and I met in a hotel room the night before Jenna's birthday dinner. We didn't plan to, but she texted me, "I need to see you. Just once before tomorrow." I couldn't say no. The sex was slow, intense, not rushed like before, not frantic or hidden. It was ours. Afterward, we lay on the bed, wrapped in silence, my hand tracing the curve of her spine. "I hate that I can't wake up next to you," she said. I kissed her shoulder. One day, she turned her head. "Do you mean that?" "I've never meant anything more." She smiled, eyes shimmering. Then let her keep playing her game. Because when the truth comes out, she'll realize she already lost. It started with a question, casual, tossed out over coffee like it meant nothing. "So," Jenna said, not looking up from her phone, "you and Sam have been talking more lately?" I didn't flinch. "Not really." "Why?" She shrugged, still tapping something out on her screen. "Just noticed you two lingering at Mom's birthday dinner last week. Didn't seem like the usual brother-in-law chat." I sipped my coffee slowly. "We were talking about her car. She's looking for a mechanic." She finally looked up. Funny, she didn't mention it when I asked. It was the first shot across the bow. She didn't know, but she was looking. And once Jenna started digging, she didn't stop until her nails were bloodied. Over the next week, the air shifted. It was subtle, but unmistakable. She watched me more. Not lovingly, shrewdly. Like she was cataloging everything. What time I left. When I came back. Whether I showered before bed or in the morning. She made sly comments, too. Always with that signature smirk. "Must be nice to be wanted again, huh?" Or, "Hope your late nights aren't exhausting you too much." Each one was a blade laced with curiosity. Testing pressure points. Meanwhile, Samantha was cracking. She became quieter during our meetups, more guarded. Her eyes would dart to the door every time we were together, even when it was just us. "She's on to us," she whispered one night as we lay together, the sheets twisted around our legs. "She doesn't have proof. She doesn't need proof. Jenna runs on gut feelings. And when she gets one," Sam paused, "she doesn't let go." I brushed her hair back, kissed her temple. Let her dig. Let her chase shadows. But what happens when she finds the light? I didn't answer. Because the truth was, sooner or later, she would. Jenna's suspicion hit a fever pitch the following Sunday. We were hosting her parents for dinner. Samantha was supposed to arrive late. Just a quick drop by to return some family photo albums Jenna had asked for. I was in the kitchen when she walked in. The sight of her, hair tied back, simple jeans, soft gray sweater that hugged her in just the right way, sent a familiar heat through my chest. We didn't touch, didn't smile too long. But the moment she stepped through the door, the temperature in the room changed. Jenna noticed. I saw it in the flick of her eyes, the sudden stillness in her shoulders. She turned to Samantha and smiled too wide. "Glad you could make it. Nate was just saying how helpful you've been lately." There it was. laced with venom. Sam caught it too. She blinked, hesitated, then replied, "I just try to be there when people need me." Jenna's eyes flicked to me, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a shiver of unease. Later that night, after everyone had left and the dishes were drying in the rack, Jenna stood in the doorway of the kitchen, arms crossed. "Be honest with me." I didn't respond. She stepped forward. "Is there someone else?" I met her eyes. "You said we were open." She laughed, short and sharp. "So that's a yes." "You've had your fun," I said. "Are you upset I finally found someone who sees me?" "Oh, don't give me that poor Nate bullshit," she snapped. "You've been screwing someone. I can see it in your face." "Maybe you should have looked sooner," I said, my voice flat. "Is it someone I know?" That hung in the air like a loaded gun. I said nothing. Her face twisted. "No." Her eyes went wide. "Don't tell me it's—" I didn't say anything. I interrupted. "But you didn't deny it." I shrugged, and that broke her. Her face contorted into something I hadn't seen before, something primal. Hurt, fury, betrayal, all painted across the same woman who'd once laughed with me in the rain and called me her future. She turned and stormed upstairs, slamming the door so hard the picture frames shook. I stood alone in the kitchen, hands braced on the counter, the echo of that door slamming vibrating through my bones. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt close to something collapsing, or something beginning. Samantha called me the next morning. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "She knows." "I know." "She looked at me different at dinner," Sam said. "Like she'd already decided I was guilty." "Are you scared?" Pause. "No, just tired of hiding." I exhaled. "So am I." She was quiet again. Then she said, "We need to decide what this is." "I already know." "Then say it." I hesitated. "I love you, Sam." I could hear her breath catch. Then, "I love you too." And just like that, the house of cards we'd built stopped trembling. Because it didn't matter if it fell anymore. We were ready to deal with the wreckage. Jenna didn't speak to me for 2 days. She didn't scream, didn't accuse, just moved through the house like a ghost. Her silence was louder than any fight we'd ever had. And I let her have it. Let her feel what I'd felt for months. Invisible, unwanted, discarded. She thought she'd broken me when she opened the marriage. But all she'd done was give me a reason to leave her. And now, with every passing hour, I could see it behind her eyes, the suspicion hardening into certainty. She wasn't mad because I'd strayed. She was mad because I'd chosen someone else. Someone she never thought she'd have to compete with. Her own sister. I didn't plan for it to happen that way. I always thought the truth would come out in pieces, shadows and suspicions, maybe a slip of the tongue or a forgotten text. I figured Jenna would corner me one night with her arms crossed and fury coiled behind her lips, ready to accuse, but never quite certain enough to draw blood. But it didn't go down like that. It happened in full daylight. And it happened fast. It was a Wednesday. Samantha had texted me something short but sweet around noon. "Thinking of you. Always." I was in a meeting when it came through, and I didn't respond right away. By the time I got home, I still hadn't replied. That single moment of delay would change everything. Because Jenna saw it. Or rather, she read it. I walked through the door and knew something was wrong. The lights were off even though it was nearly dusk. Jenna sat on the couch, her legs crossed, phone in hand, eyes unreadable. "Hey," I said cautiously. She didn't answer. Then she held up my phone. The screen was lit. The message from Samantha still open. "Cute," she said, her voice cool, too calm. "You forgot to close your apps." My stomach sank. She stood slowly, walked toward me. "Tell me it's not her." I didn't say anything. "You could have picked anyone, Nate. Any stranger. But you had to go after my sister?" Still, I said nothing. She slapped the phone against my chest. "How long?" I caught it before it hit the floor. "Does it matter?" "Oh, it matters." Her voice was rising now. "God, I knew something was off. I saw the way you looked at her. The way she looked back. I thought maybe I was paranoid. Maybe I was finally losing it." "You're not," I said quietly. That was all it took. Her face contorted, not just in anger, but in something deeper. Something hollow and betrayed and bitter all at once. "You really slept with her?" she asked, voice trembling. "Yes." "Jesus Christ, Nate." She turned away, pacing now. "My own sister? You wanted freedom," I said. "You asked for this. Don't you dare put this on me," she snapped, spinning back around. "I didn't tell you to crawl into her bed." "No," I said, my voice calm. You just told me I wasn't enough anymore. You told me you needed spice and freedom like I was some fucking used appliance you could toss in the garage. I never said that. You didn't have to, I shot back. Every night you came home reeking of someone else. Every time you laughed when I didn't react. Every time you dared me to play your game. I got the message. Her mouth opened, closed. For once, Jenna didn't have a comeback. I stepped forward, slowly. Not to threaten her. Not to argue. Just to finish it. You wanted to win, I said. You thought you'd get to have your fun and keep me waiting like some loyal lapdog. But I stopped waiting, Jenna, and you never saw it coming. She stared at me, her breathing shallow. You don't love her, she said finally, almost begging. This is just revenge. Tell me that's all it is. I shook my head. It was at first, but not anymore. She looked like I'd slapped her. I gave you everything, Nate, she whispered. Years. My best years. And I gave you mine, I said, my voice soft now. And you threw them away the moment you asked me to share you. Silence. Then, does she know you told me? No. You gonna go to her now? Run off like some trashy affair turned fairy tale? I'm not running, I said. I'm walking away. She laughed bitterly. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said, but I'll regret staying even more. I didn't pack that night. I left. Just walked out the door, phone in my pocket, heart hammering in my chest. I drove for hours. No music, no destination. Just the sound of my own breath and the buzzing storm behind my ribs. Eventually, I pulled over and called Samantha. She answered on the first ring. I told her, I said. Silence. Then, how did she take it? Like a punch to the soul. And you? I feel like I just stepped off a cliff. She breathed into the phone. And do you regret jumping? I looked out the windshield at the dark road ahead. Empty. Quiet. No, I said. I'm just wondering if you'll jump with me. She didn't answer right away. Then, come over. When I got there, she was waiting at the door, barefoot in pajamas, hair a mess, eyes tired. But God, she was beautiful. I didn't say a word, just stepped into her arms. We held each other like we were trying to pull the grief out of our skin. Her lips found mine, soft and searching, and suddenly the world stopped spinning. We didn't rush that night. There was sex, yes, but it wasn't about lust. It was about relief, about truth, about finally choosing each other without the shadows. Afterward, wrapped in sheets and heartbeats, she whispered, she'll never forgive me. I don't need her to, I said. I just need you. The fallout hadn't started yet, but it would. We both knew that. Families don't stay quiet when betrayal sits at the dinner table. There would be yelling, silence, maybe even exile. People would pick sides. Lines would be drawn. But in that moment, her hand in mine, our legs tangled together beneath the covers, I didn't care. Because for once, the lie was over. And the truth? The truth was beautiful. I expected anger, but nothing prepared me for the silence. It was louder than any screaming match could have been. Jenna didn't call, didn't text. Not that night. Not the next day. Not for an entire week. Instead, the silence moved through the family like a virus. First came the cold shoulders from her mom, who suddenly wasn't feeling well enough to take my calls. Then her brother, who sent me a single-word reply to my check-in. Why? It didn't take long before the story made its rounds. Only Jenna didn't tell it with the full truth. Of course she didn't. She painted herself as the abandoned wife, the heartbroken woman whose husband had secretly been seducing her innocent twin while she was just trying to find herself. No mention of the open marriage. No mention of the other men. No mention of how she'd started the fire. I just happened to let it burn. But people like a clean narrative. Villain. Victim. And in this story, I was the villain. Samantha was the one who bore the brunt of it. While I could disappear behind a new apartment lease and a change of address, she had nowhere to run. Jenna called her a traitor. A homewrecker. Said she'd been gunning for me all along. Her parents didn't say much at first, but their disappointment showed up in subtle ways. Missed calls, awkward silences, fake smiles. Her father stopped inviting her to Sunday brunch. Her mother sent her a long email that ended with, "I'm not sure I know who you are anymore." It broke her. More than once I found her crying in bed, face buried in her pillow, like she was trying to muffle the sound of her grief. "I didn't mean to ruin everything," she whispered one night. I didn't want to lie anymore." I held her tighter. "You didn't ruin anything. We just stopped pretending." But the words felt empty, even as I said them. Because the truth was, we had broken something. Something old. Something delicate. And no matter how justified we felt, the fallout was still real. Jenna didn't stay quiet forever. She sent me a text 3 weeks later, long after I'd moved out and changed the locks. "You win. I hope she was worth it." I stared at it for a long time before replying. "You opened the door. I just walked through it." She didn't answer. I didn't expect her to. Somehow, the scandal found its way into places it had no business being. Friends started choosing sides. Mutual couples we'd gone on double dates with years ago now sent passive-aggressive messages or simply stopped responding. I heard whispers from coworkers, subtle remarks about messy divorces and family drama. It wasn't just a breakup anymore. It was gossip. It was a spectacle. It was a goddamn soap opera. But amidst the wreckage, something strange happened. Samantha and I grew closer. Not because everything was perfect, far from it, but because we needed each other in a way that stripped us raw. We cooked dinner together every night, took long walks at dusk when the air was cool and the world felt quieter. Sometimes we didn't talk at all. Sometimes we did nothing but sit in silence, her head on my shoulder, my fingers tracing patterns along her arm. There was no pretending left, just survival, together. And then, slowly healing. We started going to therapy, not because things were falling apart, but because we didn't want them to. We sat across from a woman named Renee every Wednesday at 6 p.m. She asked hard questions. We answered honestly. She asked me what I wanted from Samantha. "Everything," I said, but with honesty this time. She asked Samantha what scared her most. "Being hated by the people I love," she whispered. "But even more than that, losing him after all of this." And that's when I realized what this all meant. It wasn't just revenge anymore. It wasn't even just love. It was rebirth. A chance to become someone new. Someone real. With her. The first time Samantha brought me to a family event again. A small birthday dinner for her cousin. People stared. Conversations paused when we entered. A few relatives whispered behind hands. But she held my hand the whole time. And when someone finally asked the dreaded question, "So, are you two serious?" She didn't flinch. "Yes," she said, squeezing my fingers. "Very." That night, as we undressed in her bedroom, she turned to me, eyes softer than I'd ever seen them. "Do you still think this started as revenge?" I paused, then shook my head. "No, but if it did, it turned into something better." Jenna eventually filed the paperwork. The divorce came through quietly. No big fights. No courtroom drama. Just signatures, division of assets, and a single line from her lawyer in the final email. She wishes to close this chapter peacefully. Peaceful. Right. But fine. I didn't need peace from her anymore. I'd found it elsewhere. There are still hard days. Days where Samantha cries after a voicemail from her mother. Days where Jenna posts something online that makes my stomach twist. Days where I question whether we could have done it differently. But those days pass. And on the better days, we laugh. We cook. We plan trips. We talk about getting a dog. Maybe even moving across the country. A fresh start. Something that's ours and no one else's. The fallout hurt. It tore holes in people we once loved, split bloodlines, burned bridges. But from those ashes, we built something that didn't need anyone's permission. Something honest. Something real. It was a quiet Sunday morning when I realized the storm had passed. Samantha was curled beside me, still half asleep, her hair tangled against my chest. The sun crept lazily through the blinds, casting golden stripes across the sheets. Outside, I could hear the soft rhythm of leaves brushing against the window and the distant bark of a neighbor's dog. For the first time in months, maybe years, my body wasn't braced for impact. No tension, no weight, no secrets pressing down on my chest. Just peace. Just her. We didn't make a big deal out of moving in together. There was no dramatic announcement, no official date circled on a calendar. One night turned into 3. A drawer became a suitcase, then a half-empty closet, and eventually a shared dresser. It just happened, like most real things do. We found an apartment on the edge of town, not too far from where she used to live, but far enough that it didn't carry the weight of the past. The kind of place with creaky floorboards, a balcony too small for anything but 2 chairs and a dream, and a kitchen that barely fit both of us. But it was ours, and that made it perfect. The world didn't stop judging. Some family members still wouldn't talk to her. Some friends drifted away from both of us. Every now and then, Someone would still send a snide message or tag Jenna in some passive-aggressive social media post that she'd conveniently leave public for just long enough. But the truth is, none of that mattered anymore. Jenna had become a ghost, a memory in my rearview mirror. The woman who once held all the power in my life now barely existed in the corners of it. I no longer hated her. I didn't love her. I didn't even pity her. I just didn't think about her. Not when Samantha looked at me with eyes full of trust. Not when we danced barefoot in the living room after dinner, laughing at songs we both hated. Not when she fell asleep on my shoulder watching movies we'd seen a dozen times. Because the moment I let go of that marriage, I stepped into something better. Not perfect, not flawless, but true. One night, Samantha and I sat on the balcony sipping wine, wrapped in a blanket despite the warm air. I still feel guilty sometimes, she admitted, staring out at the streetlights. Not because I regret us. I don't. But because of how it happened. How messy it all was. I took her hand. Messy doesn't mean wrong. It means human. But we hurt people. They hurt us too, I said. And look at what we found in the wreckage. She turned to me, smiling softly. Something worth rebuilding. I nodded. Exactly. There was a long silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Just two people letting the truth settle between them. Then she asked, "Do you think we would have fallen in love if none of that ever happened? If your marriage had stayed intact?" I didn't answer right away. Because the truth was, I didn't know. Maybe we would have. Maybe we wouldn't have dared. But one thing I did know. I think we were always meant to find each other, I said. Even if we had to crawl through hell to get here. She leaned her head on my shoulder. And neither of us spoke again for a long time. Weeks passed. Then months. We started making plans. Real plans. Vacations. Career changes. Maybe a puppy. Maybe a ring. The idea of marriage didn't scare me anymore. Because now I knew what I wouldn't settle for. I knew what I deserved. And more importantly, I knew what she deserved too. We talked about it in quiet moments. Not with pressure. Just curiosity. "I never thought I'd want to marry someone," she said once, curled against me in bed. Not even before. Especially not before. I kissed her shoulder. "But now," she smiled. "Now I think I'd like to wake up next to you for the rest of my life." It was the simplest thing, but it stayed with me. On our anniversary. Not of when we started dating, but of the night it all changed. I took her to the little Italian place on the corner where we'd first had a real date after the truth came out. We sat at the same table, shared the same wine. She laughed at the same joke I'd told months ago that she pretended was new. And when dessert came, I slid a small box across the table. Her eyes widened. She opened it slowly. Inside, there wasn't a ring. Just a note. One word. Soon. She looked up at me with a sparkle in her eyes. "You're serious?" "Dead serious." "Good," she whispered. "Because I'm not letting you go." And that was it. That was the moment I knew for certain. This wasn't revenge anymore. It wasn't rebellion. It wasn't a temporary fix to a broken ego. It was love. Real, complicated, beautiful love. The kind that rises from ashes and scars and honesty so raw it sometimes hurts to hold. But we held it anyway. Because we chose it. Over comfort. Over safety. Over history. We chose each other. So if you're reading this, and you're stuck in something that feels like it's dying, know this. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to choose yourself. And if you're lucky, truly lucky, you might find someone waiting on the other side of that pain, holding out their hand, ready to help you build something new, something better, something real, just like I did.
Looking back at the entire situation, I have to say this clearly: Jenna may appear confident and sharp on the surface, but in my view, her actions reflect a deep level of arrogance and moral collapse. From my perspective, normalizing betrayal and mocking loyalty is something I simply cannot accept. That's not just a mistake, it's a complete breakdown of respect within a relationship. What stands out to me is how this turned into a painful turning the tables situation. Jenna believed she was in control of everything, but in the end, she lost what mattered most to her, to the people closest to her. At the same time, I have mixed feelings about Nate and Samantha's situation. While it may feel like poetic revenge, it also leaves behind emotional damage that cannot be ignored, and the key lesson here is simple: never play with someone's trust. Because once that foundation breaks, everything built on top of it eventually collapses. And sometimes, rebuilding means stepping over ruins that still hurt everyone involved. What do you think about Nate's choice? Was it justified revenge, or did it cross another line entirely?